Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. We're going to be talking about scaling water safety plans to fit small and under-resourced systems. And this is just a roadmap of what we'll be going through today. So we are going to start off with just a little bit of brief background material, do a few polls, and then we are going to have lightning talks from 4 speakers from around the world, which is very exciting. Then we're going to repeat a poll to see what we might have learned, what might have changed from understanding those experiences. We will follow that with a panel discussion and then have an exercise to share out again what we're hearing, what we're learning. And we will do questions and answers from the audience at the end and wrap up and give you some references for further information and for a conference that's coming up. So first, to practice, we just want to try out one poll. So we'll stop sharing the slides and you should see a pop-up window that allows you to answer the poll, and we can just see where everyone is joining from today. If anyone is having trouble accessing the poll, if you could just let my colleague Angelo know in the chat if you're having any issues, but hopefully everyone can see that pop up and answer. All right, looks like we have some strong contingencies from Africa, Asia, and Europe, and we have also some folks joining from Latin America, the Caribbean, North America, and Oceania. So great to see all of the diversity today. And hopefully you all can see the results of that for the first 108 people who answered. So thank you all for trying that out. All right, so moving on to some of the background information for today's webinar. We do want to explain what is a water safety plan. We know many of you are probably pros and are already aware of this, but just for folks who might be new to the concept, a water safety plan is a holistic, proactive risk assessment and risk management approach, and it's meant to cover the entire water supply from the source all the way to the consumer. And for smaller systems, the program is divided into 6 simplified tasks. So it starts with engaging the community and assembling a team to carry out the program. Second, describing the water supply so that you know what hazards exist and what your landscape looks like. Third, you want to assess those hazards to know what risks might be posed in your system specifically and what control measures you might have in place. So a good way to think about this is, for example, you might have a fence around your water source that is preventing a risk from happening, maybe is preventing animals from coming in and contaminating the water source. Fourth, you want to develop an incremental improvement plan to make sure that you have those high priority risks you've identified and you're working on making sure those risks are under control. Fifth, you want to monitor and make sure that the controls are working. So you might monitor to make sure that your fence is intact and that it's still controlling the risk that in the way that you wanted. The sixth step previously was to document, review, and improve all aspects of the plan, the continuous improvement step, and this still exists, although in the 2024 guidelines for drinking water quality for small systems, it was separated out into 2 tasks. So the new task 6 is to carry out the operation of the plan, the operation of your water system, and also make sure you're planning for emergencies. So this is just illustrating the importance of making sure the practices to control the risks are embedded within your day-to-day operations and that you have plans in place for when a risk or an unexpected event might occur. And then that 7th task remains the same, to review and improve. And then we also wanted to explain today what we mean by small and under-resourced systems. So we can get the slide.
Karen, you are now controlling the screen. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, there may just be a little bit of a lag. Go back. Okay, great. Oh. I need the previous ones. Sorry, Effie, if you can go back. Thank you so much. Okay. Great. So we also wanted to explain what we mean by a smaller under-resourced system, and it might surprise you to know that this is not defined by how many people are served or what type of water system you have in place or what the management operation is. It's actually defined by the challenges that you might face. So if you have any of these types of challenges with operations and management, you're probably in the right place to talk about a smaller under-resourced system. So you may have limited access to expert assistance because your supply is remote or isolated, or you don't have great technical expertise in your area. You may have limited oversight from the local government with management and technical support, and you may have inconsistent financial resources to invest in your system. All right, so now, sorry, Afia, if you can just, thank you. So now if you look at this graph, you can see that on the smaller end of water systems, for example, maybe a water system serving just one household or a few people, you're going to want to use something called a sanitary inspection, which is essentially a checklist complete with management advice and fact sheets to tell you about the different risks to your water system. And those are abbreviated here as SIs. If you have a little bit bigger system that's serving multiple households, a larger community, that's where you step up and use this water safety plan guidance for small systems. And that's kind of the teal box in the middle here. So sanitary inspections can still be used as a supporting tool, but you are following this guidance with the tasks. If you have a larger system where you have a lot of professional operators, you have more resources, you're serving a larger population, and you feel like you can undertake it, then you would use the water safety plan guidance for large systems. So this is largely a self-identification process. It's what do you feel like you can accomplish within your capacity, and it is largely relative. So maybe, for the area where you live or your country, you are one of the larger systems, but if it's a lower middle income country, or you feel like your supply is under resourced and you can't take on the full water safety plan guidance with all 10 modules, you would step back and use this guidance we're talking about today for small systems, which is the 7 tasks. All right, and I think that's all the background material. So we're going to move on to, this is the first real poll. So we did a practice poll, and we can go ahead and launch this, but we're asking, what do you think right now coming into this are the primary barriers to implementing water safety plans in small and under-resourced systems? So you should all get a pop-up window where you can see that question and you can go ahead and respond to that. And I believe you are allowed to you may be allowed to choose more than one, but if you aren't able to do that, just go ahead and pick the one you think is the biggest barrier. If you don't agree with any of these, there's a something else category at the end, so feel free to choose that as well. Looks like about half of you have responded, so we'll go ahead and give you a little bit more time. So some big ones that I'm seeing come up are expenses, the volunteer or staff, the operator expertise, and then supplies and infrastructure. Political priority and availability of guidance are also coming up. Staff time surprisingly low. I often hear cost and time are two big ones. But we are hopefully going to talk through some of this today and dispel some myths. It has to be an intensive effort. All right, it looks like we have 80% participation. So thank you all for sharing your thoughts in that poll. All right, and I will pass it over to my co-moderator, Fatima Dashti, who is also on the management committee for the Water Safety Planning Specialist Group at IWA. So take it away, Fatima.
Hi, thank you, Karen. Welcome everyone. My name is Fatma Dashti. I am from Kuwait. Please use the Q&A box if you have any question during the webinar, and our speaker will address them later. Some of the questions will be answered live. If you have any technical problem, please let us know through the chat box. We encourage you to stay engaged after the webinar. Next. Today, our webinar has amazing speakers from different countries. We will start in Canada, then move to Uruguay, followed by Ghana, and finally Sri Lanka. Together, they will support our webinar, which focuses on water safety plan. Next, it is my pleasure to welcome our two experts from Canada, Travis and Megan. Travis Diamond is a supervisor at Antatlik First Nations Water Authority in Canada. He has many years of experience in water and wastewater operation. Travis has spent much of his career operating the Lennox Island water and wastewater systems. His work focuses on ensuring safe drinking water and effective wastewater treatment systems. Next, Dr. Megan Fuller. She is a director of research of the Antarctic First Nations Water Authority at Dalhousie University in Canada. Her research focused on drinking water quality management across the range of regulatory environment. Travis and Megan, you can start your presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much. Just want to make sure everybody can hear me okay. And also, I think I have control over my slides, although, yes, it seems so.
Yes, Megan. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you so much. You can control, but I don't think I am controlling. Yes, sorry. Oh, there we go. There might be a lagger. I think I'm in control. Thanks again, everybody. Thank you for the kind introduction. I'm going to take the next 5 minutes or so to tell you a little bit about our context that we're experiencing here in Canada. As the introductions implied, I work with, and Travis works with, the Atlantic First Nations Water Authority. This context is critically important. In Canada, of course, it's a highly developed water and wastewater sector. However, First Nations are Indigenous peoples who have been placed on federal lands through the Constitution and through systemic colonization. And so the map that you're seeing in front of us is going to describe a little bit about what the AFNWA is and how it's situated on the lands. Each of the wigwams and individual stars are showing First Nations reserved lands, which are the federal lands where Indigenous people live. And these nations have come together because traditionally they receive wastewater and drinking water services directly from the federal government and manage their community systems on their own. This is very unlike what municipalities and other cities inside of Canada experience. So the governance relationship is drastically different. We'll talk a little bit about that on the next slide. What's important for the AFNWA is that the chiefs of these First Nations came together over 15 years ago, and sat down and had discussions around how they could take control and build self-determination around their drinking water and wastewater systems. And so what you see here is a graphic that was actually recorded during meetings with community members and knowledge holders that show that these First Nations located across the Wabanaki Territory in what is now Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island decided to come together and work with the federal government to take control of their systems. So this is so important. Sorry, just trying to, yeah, sorry. I might have clicked one too many times, darn it. Hold on, we're going back. There we are. Okay. What's so important is that there are a lot of barriers that face First Nations systems that are not experienced in a municipal context in Canada. So I've just chosen two headlines from recent articles that have been published. The first one is pointing out that there is no federal legislation regarding drinking water quality in First Nations. So through the Constitution, Canada devolves responsibility of drinking water to the provinces and then to the municipalities. But because First Nations are located on federal lands, they are not subject to provincial laws. And so there's actually a significant loophole that creates a situation where First Nations do not have any regulatory requirements around drinking water standards. So there are bills that have come into play and solutions that are trying to be made, but right now there are no regulations for drinking water safety. And likewise, there's no agreed upon funding mechanism. So the federal government disperses funds, but First Nations have very little say in the kind of ways that they receive their funding or what level of funding they receive. So lots of limitations that make these fall into this IWA classification of smaller under-resourced systems. So when the AFNWA decided to formed a nonprofit to take over the responsibility of the drinking water and wastewater systems of participating First Nations, they did so in an unregulated and underfunded environment. So without any enforcement process or regulator in play, they turned to the World Health Organization Water Safety Plan as one of the mechanisms to make sure that they were going to provide clean drinking water to their participating First Nations. So this is just, it really echoes what Karen shared around the organization of a water safety plan. However, I really wanted to highlight the unique strategies that have been adopted by the AFNWA because culturally speaking, water is sacred to Indigenous peoples in Canada. And so it was really important that we come up with governance mechanisms that echoed that, that sacred quality. So they've taken the 6 steps from the water safety planning diagram from the World Health Organization, and they've understood it in 4 steps. This allows it to fit into an important cultural iconography of the medicine wheel. The medicine wheel and the way First Nations folks think about their relationship with the broader world is cyclical inherently. And so creating a circle to show the processes was important, and understanding the 4 quadrants of the medicine wheel to be the 4 directions of a compass or the 4 seasons just makes it visibly, immediately recognizable to First Nations. And so you can see around the outside of this circle that the same elements apply in the water safety planning paradigm, but we've just redesigned it to make more cultural sense for First Nations. And centered in the middle is the dedication to certain pieces of First Nations worldviews. So we don't have time here today to walk through all of the ways Indigenous ways of knowing and being are sort of built into this model, but this is the model that that the AFNWA is using. So, of course, we didn't just create this culturally relevant approach to water safety planning and let it hit the ground and off they went. We're very much in the process of finding a way to get an Indigenous water utility to meaningfully implement water safety planning. I just wanted to quickly, in my last few seconds here, talk about the pending needs and some practical approaches. The utility is a really young one. It's unprecedented in that it's the only Indigenous water utility in Canada. It fully took over the responsibility of 13 systems that were under design and poorly maintained. So they're already starting sort of on the back foot. The operations staff, who many have been working at these systems for a very long time, are undergoing a lot of change in management and the way that they're doing business. And so, we have to take that into consideration in implementing even more changes. While informal risk assessments are ongoing and operators are brought into training all the time to think about the risks in their systems, we're working on a practical approach to get formal risk assessments and mitigation actions developed and implemented. Building buy-in to this work has been slow, but I think important that it happens from the ground up. And given that we're in a fully unregulated environment, they're able to build systems that work for them. I know it's a really fast presentation, but I'm happy I was able to share some context and information about the Atlantic First Nation Water Authority. We think it's a really good mechanism for delivering a different kind of drinking water and wastewater service to First Nations rather than just the federal model. And I encourage you to check out their website at afnwa.ca if you want to learn more about their journey. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the moderators. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Megan, for your great presentation. Next, please join me to welcome Alejandro Herbero. Alejandro is a drinking water assistant manager at the state-owned company in charge of supplying drinking water in the Uruguay. He now is the chair of our team, IWA Water Safety Plan Specialist Group. Alejandro, the floor is yours.
Hello, thanks so much, Fatima. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to share this webinar with you all. My name is Alejandro Iriburo, and I will be sharing some details about the development of water safety plan for a small water supply system in Uruguay. Let's talk a little about Uruguay then. Located in South America, has an area of 176,000 square kilometers, a population about 3.5 million inhabitants, with a drinking water coverage of 99.1% of the urban population and 95% of the total population of the country. The supply is in charge of the Water and Sanitation Utility, OSE, which manage almost 570 water supply systems, of which 90% have less than 5,000 inhabitants and 50% have less than 100 inhabitants. Small systems include rural schools and small rural towns. Let's go to the second one. Let me see. Yeah. To provide, sorry. Yeah. To provide context for the significant number of small water supply systems managed by OSE, it is important to highlight that in 2008, at the initiative of OSE, a specific program for the supply of the drinking water to small villages and in rural areas and rural schools was launched. As a result of the program, the number of water systems managed by OSE to that date doubled. Let's talk about, how was the way we implemented water safety plan. The implementation strategy will be different in each country. And a key aspect from the beginning is to strongly incorporate the local culture and that of the organization involved in the management. In the process to implement water safety plan within OSE, we identified three clearly defined stages. The first stage began with the study of available documentation, and a strategy was established for the dissemination of the paradigm shift and awareness within the company. In the second stage, we can talk about voluntary implementation. And the strategy included the participation of international specialists with experience in the development and implementation of water safety plan, and began with a pilot project in a system that supplies about 20,000 inhabitants. Then later was extended to the supply system of the country's main cities. And the third stage, we can call it mandatory implementation, and start with the regulator, USEA, promulgated a rule intended to ensure a strategy that supports and promotes the water safety plan implementation and auditing in all drinking water supply system by 2030. The approval of the regulation marks really a key milestone, and the prior preparation, as well as also the structure and management of drinking water, were crucial for the timely and proper implementation. The regulation established a distinction for localities with fewer than 2,000 inhabitants, requiring the development of a specific document for the creation of this plan, as well as the presentation of the general timeline with intermediate goals and universal access by 2030. They can have the local definition of the number of inhabitants, like 2,000, that define a small system in Uruguay. Let's see, change, yeah. Sorry. I will mention here three strategies that have proven very useful for the implementation of water safety plan in small system in Uruguay. The main is to incorporate the management of a small supply system within the company's organizational structure, ensuring technical support, the supply of chemical products, operational control through the staff of supply unit and department heads, water quality control through the network of regional laboratories and the central laboratory. And in the image on the right, you can see a screenshot of one of the ad hoc computer applications that were developed by OSE. They enable management of operational data associated with the source, treatment, and distribution component of each system. Also, a training program was established with courses on the water safety plan methodology since 2015, with an average of 2 editions per year, and more than 200 participants have been trained up to date. Let's see, change, yeah. Two regulatory aspects that have an impact on the practical application of development of water safety plan for a small town have been, on one hand, the water safety plan regulation approved in 2018, and on the other hand, the changes in water quality regulation. According of the guide that we defined for the implementation of water safety plan in small system, the general document to be considered for its development are established, like a manual, a general risk matrix, management sheets, and improvement plan template guides for preparing monitoring reports, as well as the specific document. The ad hoc computer application also communicates with others applications, allowing access to laboratory resource, the geographic information system, and serving as an input for records of distribution tank cleaner, hydrant purging, and operational controls. This constitutes an important tool for internal and external management and communication. And about the changes in the regulation, in water quality regulation, we can talk about the change in maximum permissive value of arsenic that changed for 50 to 20 micrograms per liter, and the value will be 10 micrograms per liter in 2027. Then we start to change the way we treat water in some of these small systems. And for the last slide, I choose 3 images. Let me see. Yeah. The one on the left to reflect the importance of the ongoing search for ways to optimize treatment as barrier to minimize risk. The one on the right refers to the general objective established by the regulator, which states that during this 5-year period, 2026 to 2030, all drinking water supply systems in Uruguay must have implemented water safety plan. Most of these correspond to small systems. We have a water safety plan in half of the total system up to this day. The sustainable implementation of water safety plan in small system is a significant challenge. This is due to the need to select the appropriate technology for treatment, distribution, and storage infrastructure, as well as for the supply of electricity and chemicals. It also requires defining and maintaining the frequency of operational and control monitoring, providing ongoing training and motivation to staff, emphasizing the importance of safe drinking water for public health, and promoting a proactive approach to risk assessment and management, including internal audit and sanitary inspection by personnel external to the system. I left the commentary on the central image until the end. The concept, in this one, we can see the concept of water safety planning in action, presented extremely clear in the second edition of the IWA WHO Water Safety Plan Manual. Confront us with the historic challenge of drinking water supply, requiring us to be vigilant, one step ahead in analyzing hazard and assessing risk, and managing the multiple barriers we have established to minimize them. The result of this approach, adopted without doubt, leads to strengthening access to drinking water for communities that are normally located far from large metropolitan areas, making it a crucial tool for public health, and therefore a path that we can and must take. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Alejandro, for your great presentation on water safety plan strategy in Uruguay. Next, please join me to welcome Joseph and Felix from Ghana. Engineering Joseph also answer. He is the head of technical service at Safe Water Network in Ghana. For more than 3 years, he has led his team to apply water safety plan at many water supply stations. The next expert from Ghana is Felix Ampo Ofori. He is the technical service manager at Safe Water Network in Ghana. Joseph and Felix, you can start your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Fatima, for the introduction. I think Joseph's line is off a bit and he's going to join us later. So please go back one slide. Yes, so Safe Water is a non-profit organization. Please go back one slide, go back one slide. So Safe Water is a non-profit organization that provides water to deprived communities. So in terms of basically that's what Safe Water does. So in terms of that's what Safe Water does, and we have stations in about 11 out of the 15 regions in Ghana, and on the average, we add about 5 stations each year. So we began the implementation of the water safety plans for 46 of our 115 stations in 2023, with technical assistance from Acquire Institute and also Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and financial assistance from the Hilton Foundation. Next slide. So in terms of the barriers that we have to overcome, one of the major barriers that we have to overcome was the technical competence and also commitment of our teams. Finding competent people to build the team was a bit difficult for us because in the rural areas of Ghana, it's very difficult to get people of certain level of competence to be able to do some of these things. And also some of our team members also saw water safety plans as an additional work. So it's one of the barriers that we needed to overcome, but we managed to also do that. And also, you know, when we formed the teams, we had teams that were team members that were not necessarily staff of Safe Water Network, that is community members and also people from the district assemblies. So getting their commitment was also difficult. And some of the issues that we also identify in terms of the hazards also require some amount of substantial financial resource to be able to resolve them. That is CAPEX. So that is also one of the issues that we also encountered, and also the appreciation of the community when it comes to water quality. And in terms of the team formation, the external people who joined us, as I spoke earlier on, they had very limited knowledge, and also their commitment levels were not very high. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the unique strategies that we decided to use, we formed 2 teams. We have the core team consisting of only SWN staff, and we also had the extended team that involves the community members and also the district assembly people that I spoke about earlier on. So we also supported the teams from the head office. So after reviewing the needed material, the head office developed a training manual for the local stations, and each WSP team, we had somebody from the head office supervising the whole process. We also, in terms of supervision, we had a monthly sanitary inspection in place, which is done by the core team and also the extended team from both the community, the assembly. They also have their quarterly meetings to make sure that the process is ongoing, even though that increased the cost, but it had a lot of benefits. The funding actually came from Hilton Foundation to make sure we close most of the gaps. Next slide. Yes, so the practical approaches, after reviewing the available material and also developing the training manual, the first thing we did was to organize a 3-day training for the Safe Water staff, or the staff that will be involved in the WSP process. We organized a 3-day training for them. Then when it was time for us to go into the community to actually start the practical implementation, we also organized a 1-day training for both the core team members and also the extended team members that included the community and also the district assembly people. Then after that 1 day training, we actually go to the station. We actually conduct the WSP exercise so that at least based on the training that we gave the people, they can actually come together to help us do the WSP. So we did that. Then we also used our quarterly meetings as a way of refreshing the memories of both the core and also the extended teams to make sure that they are properly aligned as to the requirement of the WSP. And one thing we did was also to involve the internal audit department of Safe Water so that they can audit the process and make sure that the process is aligned to the standard that we have set for ourselves. Next slide, please. So in terms of the pending needs, we have to increase technical oversight from our head office. Is one thing that we really have to do just to make sure we sustain the implementation and also sustain the practices that we have brought about as a result of the WSP. We also need to do some further training for our officers so that some of the responsibilities that is currently being done by the head office team will actually be done by the technical, the officers in terms of the cluster officers. Then we want to include WSP as part of key performance indicator for our staff so that it will ginger them to actually sustain the practice. And we also want to get our cluster officers to be co-facilitators in the initial training just to improve the ownership of the entire WSP process. And our sanitary inspections, we need to also be very regular on it just to make sure that we are on track. In terms of the actions that or the gaps that we identified, we noticed that about 70% of the issues identified is something that the stations can actually close. So thank you so much. I think this is the end of my presentation. Thank you. I'll hand over to the facilitators.
Thank you for your amazing presentation, Felix. Next, our speaker is CK Warigoda. He is the specialist in water treatment at the National Water Supply and Drainage Board in Sri Lanka, where he provides senior technical leadership in drinking water treatment and quality. He is also project director of the Kandy City Waste Management Project, supporting an integrated urban environment. Moreover, he contributed to the Water Safety Plan manual published by the WHO and IWA. CK, you can start your presentation.
Thank you so much. So it's a really great honor for me to go ahead with your webinar today.
So
greetings from
control now. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So still I don't find control over here.
Can you check now, sir?
No, the same issue.
It's okay. I will do it from my end.
Yeah, you please run on.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So, thank you so much. So, I'm from Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is just in the south to India, and we are an island country with 22 million population, and the pipe-borne water supply is done for urban, almost like 52% of the country, where that we have got water safety plans implemented over 340 large to medium scale water supply facilities. So then the semi-urban 2% is by the local authorities, which is not being done so far. And what we are focusing today is the 12% of the total population, which is the population that we are talking as rural. So the size of these the facilities could be around maximum 2,000 cubic meters per day, the capacity of drinking water. So, and we have individual sources of 32% of the total population as per our basic understanding. So next, please. Next slide. Yeah. So these are the barriers we had to overcome all the way. And Sri Lanka is that island country in the tropical region. We are having a huge challenge from adverse climate scenarios. And we are losing almost like 3.7 billion US dollars per year. So, and this is one that the catchment, when you take up this rural water safety or rural water supplies, mostly come in with the agricultural practices. So a lot of pesticides and agrochemicals being used. And whenever you are going for the water safety plan implementation, no historical data, that's one big issue. Catchment demarcation and inadequate water treatment, almost like 50% of these facilities, what I'm talking about as rural. When you count the total number in Sri Lanka, we have about 4,300 small scale rural water facilities across the country in the dry zone. And most of them are being operated by the community-based organizations. So lack of understanding, inconsistent management, lack of SOPs, improper designs, high NRW, poorly managed distribution. So there are a lot of myths, and insufficient tariff is one other that we were facing as barriers. Next, please. So these were the unique strategies we tried here in the country to find a sort of success. So we are having a very good sort of records in urban, and we are trying our best to bring back the same success into our rural systems also. So we got a national institute called National Department of National Community Water Supply, DNCWS, and the country asks all the CBOs, community-based organizations, to get registered, because then we have a centrally managed system. So that is the umbrella system. Then we got an act for this particular DNCWS, where that they have WSP as a mandatory requirement for these all CBOs. Then we got the national policy, which has been all the way published in the IWA WSP portal. You can just download it. And then we are in the process of putting up national monitoring systems for the country. And we are planning a conference for water safety in Sri Lanka in 2026. That's all to educate people across the country. Next, please. Yeah. So previous. Yeah, practical approaches, talking about these WSP champions. That's one of the success story we had under UNICEF, WHO, and Green Climate Fund. So we got all these supports across the country to have a group of champions across the country, almost like 100 people around. So then we have introduced the appropriate treatment technologies, because that's very, very important to ensure the water safety. So we are having nanofiltration, RO combined system, electrodialysis reversal systems, and so on. So then we got our WSP auditing system established with the Department of National Community, and we are running with this auditing also. Then we are developing our WSP implementation manual in local languages, and having a sort of training on water quality monitoring and data analysis as well. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah, so this the pending needs all the way. So national plan, so master plan is very much required for the country to ensure sustainability, more funding as usual. Then empowering implementation of water safety policy, though we have a very documented policy, implementation is a bit doubtful. Then we are having the National Institute, so it's something that is a need for us to come, and national level awareness and drinking water regulator. So these are the key areas I want to highlight as the pending needs. Thank you so much joining me. It's over. Back to the moderator.
Thank you so much to all of the speakers. And yeah, just want to give you a virtual round of applause, because it's great to hear from people who are actually implementing these programs on the ground in so many different places. So thank you all so much. I think we're going to go ahead and skip this poll, just because we have a lot more to get to and we're a little bit behind on time. So I'm going to go ahead and move to the panel discussion. And I will ask all of the speakers if you don't mind coming back on your video, and we can stop sharing the slides for the next, we'll do about 8 to 10 minutes, hopefully. All right, so we have Travis, Megan, Joseph. Great, okay, everyone's here. So I want to start out with asking a question to Travis, who participated in the talk from the First Nations in Canada. So the question is, what are the strengths and weaknesses of small water systems when it comes to water safety plan implementation? And I think you have some unique perspective on this.
Yeah, so when I started, I'll speak kind of from my time before the Water Authority because now I have a lot more avenues to. I have coworkers that take care of a lot of the heavy lifting too. When I first started, like a lot of our in the small community I take care of is only 400 residents. So like limited staff, there was only limited staff that would take care of everything like maintenance, uh, buying new materials, and then a lot of time being underfunded and not being able to do preventive maintenance and when things went wrong and financial constraints, not having the money to maintain the systems was a hurdle too.
Thanks. And then SK, I think I want to pull the same question over to you. So do you, having worked with large systems and with smaller systems, what do you see as kind of the strengths or the weaknesses of the small systems?
Yeah. So whenever it's coming for the small systems, one big issue is that the catchments are almost like in the forever corner of I mean, like the catchments of the big rivers. So they are very sensitive for the climate change impacts, adverse impacts. So that is one of the biggest issues that we are facing. On top of that, we don't find like capable people, human resources to take up this in the rural scales. And the knowledge is something very much missing there. The technological involvement is something missing. The water treatment is coming as a challenge, and people don't bother much about the disinfection, especially. They do hate the chlorine smell and the taste. These are the big challenges that I found, and the management of the distribution also is not that so smart and standard. So NRW is relatively high. So when I was coming for the strength sides, so what that I find is they are the small catchments. So you can easily do the system description and you can easily bring down the hazard identification whenever you are getting experts into the system. So then what I want to see then Sri Lankan context, we got the department responsible for all the CBOs, we are the people who were having this operational part. So we got an umbrella system and we put up a mandatory requirement as WSP under the Act. Those are the positives that are found in our Sri Lankan context experiences. Kiran.
Thank you. And yeah, I just want to highlight from that question that sometimes we think about smaller under-resourced systems as universally having disadvantages, but there are clearly some advantages. Maybe you have less bureaucracy that you're dealing with, or you can have more room for creativity or innovation. So thank you for that. Next, I want to move over to Joseph. And I just wanted to ask, as you're going through these tasks for the water safety planning, were there any steps that you found surprisingly valuable, or were there any risk rankings that you found surprising?
Yes, indeed. I think among the steps that sort of surprised a little bit was, indeed forming the teams and training the teams. We got to know that as and when our operators and the people we trained grasped the knowledge around it, it helped them in doing their jobs, and it helped them. We were surprised that they were able to easily identify some of the risks that we are looking for, and then even suggest mitigation methods and stuff like that. We are also surprised that something that we did not expect just popped out. We realized that in many of the communities, the community members were building mini ranches, i.e. they were rearing sheep and goats, and instead of allowing them to stray, no, they have created a pen which more often than not was close to our water sources and so forth. So we were surprised that based on the water safety plans that we were doing, this issue popped up in many of the places, and so we needed to address it and so forth. So those are some of the two things that sort of a positive and negative that's really surprised us in the implementation.
Thank you. And then Alejandro, I wanted to ask you the same question. So having experience going through this water safety planning process many times, what popped up for you as a tool or a step or a risk ranking that was surprising or valuable?
Hello, thanks, Karen, for the question. Yeah, we have a lot of experience in a small system. I think that I mean in Uruguay, one of the things that we can talk about is it's a small country. You must improve a lot in communication, even distance are not so far. Communication issue is one of the biggest challenges. You have to involve people that are in different places of the country. One thing that I mean, OCE as a water utility has a lot of experience in manage this system, but you must talk with the people about how to write procedures, how to make the meetings, the as with the frequencies that I mean you said, and you write some kind of protocols saying that you must do like some kind of meeting each month and talk about what difficult has the system, and to make this in the same way each month for a lot of systems is something that you can have to do, and this is for me one of the big challenge because it's something that changed. People need to bring water in quality and quantity and continuity, but it's not always it's not used to do this kind of meeting on do this kind of report sometimes.
Thanks. And that leads me to my next question. I'm going to just reverse the order. But I was wondering, it's something that I've thought about a lot with the water safety plan. You always start somewhere, right? And WHO very much encourages people to start somewhere and then improve as they can. So in terms of the start, doing kind of a quick and dirty water safety plan as a desk exercise or a thought exercise, how long would you say it takes? Is it a matter of hours, days, weeks, months, years, in your experience, just to get something started? And I'll ask Alejandro first and then Joseph again.
Yeah, thanks. I think that we can spend like some month in having in implementing a water safety plan in a small system. It depends on the support you can receive. It depends of the country's institutional organization regarding the drinking water, in how the supply system where we want to implement the water safety plan is organized. You have to consider the local culture as a key aspect. You have to establish a strategy with a lot of communication among the stakeholders, not just the ones that manage the system. And you have to transmit the concept of water safety plan and especially the impact of the water safety plan in public health. You have to assemble the working team, generate the documentation to describe the system, like assess and prioritize risk, make the procedures. And I think the motivation, the inclusive participation, and to have clear and progressive objectives and goals will allow for a good first version of water safety plan in like 6 months, something like this, I think.
Thank you. And then Joseph, I guess the same question in your experience, in your context.
Yes, yes, thank you. I would say that anything between 2 weeks to 4 weeks, you'll be able to generate the document, the water safety plan document, and then of course move on to its implementation. And I would say that the weak link is creating the team, basically, because in our case we need to co-opt external people into the team. What it means is that you may have to write to the district assembly, go there to visit them, and then get them to co-opt some members for you. You have to go into the community and then identify at least people who could influence or influential people among the community to join the team and convince them and so forth. That bureaucracy is what really will stretch it from 2 weeks to 4 weeks. But if you're able to overcome that hurdle, it can be done very quickly. I mean, if assuming that hurdle is not there, you can easily do that in 2 weeks, because when you get your own team together and you get into the facility and begin identifying the risks and finding mitigations and so forth, that doesn't take so much time and so forth and so on. But of course, that is one side of it. Then the implementation piece begins, closing the gaps that you find. They are fixing the issues and stuff like that. That could take a little bit of time, but by and large, I think 2 to 4 weeks is good.
Thank you. Yeah, it sounds like that communication piece, just getting the right actors in place, in contact, working together is a bit of a hurdle. So thanks for sharing. I want to move to Travis now. I know that you all are a little bit earlier in the process. You've kind of done some of that work of getting people on board, getting people engaged. Do you feel like that getting started step is half the battle? Do you feel like it's going to be smooth sailing from here on out, or do you feel like you're still kind of ramping up at every hurdle?
I was just thinking about when everybody else was talking about their issues was I remember my first when I was first introduced to one, the plan was taken, sitting on the table. It was already one that was implemented in a bigger city. So there was only like three of us or four of us around the table, and all we did was start picking away sections of it that wouldn't work for us, and that made it more like easier to adapt to the smaller system. Like there were security questions and stuff where we wouldn't have those issues in a smaller area. So that was how we started. And then once you get that, I find it's a living document. It's always going to change. There's always going to be things change in the system and the areas you're in. But like the other gentleman said, the team that you have behind it, if you have somebody that's proactive in it and always keeping it alive. That's the big thing, is to keep the changes moving.
Thanks. Yeah, I know that's a big struggle to make sure it's something that's done in practice. And I always say it's more of a lifestyle than it is a project or a document. It's a way of living, essentially. Um, SK, I want to jump over to you for one more question, and then we'll do a quick speed round to wrap up. So, in your experience, we're hearing about local adaptation. Obviously, this process has been different for all of you. How important is it to make sure that you're adapting the guidance to the local system and the local needs?
Yeah, so that was one of the very first thing that we have done in Sri Lanka, the adaptation and mainstreaming of this particular activity, because it was sort of like a new sort of actions for us, especially in the rural sector. So one side, the people were not aware much about the water treatment and the importance of safe water and so on. So the other side, the approach. So what we have done was we got a simplified version of the WSP manual, which is published by WHO for the rural systems. And the version itself, it's a sort of like a document where that we have fill-in gaps like options. So then we got a national training with the champions and the support from the funding agencies like UNICEF and all. So this was something that we tried at the very beginning, and we conducted some of the piloting in different districts of the country. We have 25 districts and almost like 20 around coming as a rural water sector, where that we have active groups. So there where that we have adopted this idea with a simplified version of a manual, which is available in WSP portal for everyone to see, and that is in the local languages. And then we help as a centralized system. So in the urban system, in the second manual of WSP IWA WHO manual, Sri Lanka is the one who introduced the three different teams into practice. The come in as implementation team, stakeholder team, and the advisory or the supportive team. So supportive team was very active and sort of like productive in the rural, because since they don't find enough knowledge, the supportive team together with the Department of National Committee Water Supply, the umbrella organization, we supported all the key implementers in the regions. So then we could put down the knowledge from the high level to the bottom grassroots level. So that was the main mechanism that we adopted in Sri Lankan context, Karen. Yeah.
Thank you. And yeah, just to mention, we shared a link in the chat, but what SK was talking about is watersafetyportal.org. The actual URL is wsportal.org. And this is a great free library with resources from all around the world, things like locally adapted guidance and the larger global guidance. So thanks for mentioning that. All right, I want to wrap up with everybody who's on the panel here. Speed round, so just a couple words maybe for your answers. And Megan, feel free to jump in here as well. Was it as hard as you expected to pursue water safety plans? And I'll just go in alphabetical order. Alejandro.
Yeah, please, Karen, repeat me the question.
Was it as hard as you expected to pursue water safety planning?
Sorry, I can't hear you. Sorry.
To pursue water safety planning, was it as hard as you expected?
Yeah, I think that we start we start like in 2011, 2012, reading a lot of information, like the third version of the guidelines of WHO, and you can listen to me, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, we were just asking for a few words, just a real quick answer, speed round.
Yeah. It's just like I think it's not harder as you can imagine. I think it's not harder. I think that you must you must do it. You can do it step by step. It's like any management system. You have to see the goal. The goal is there. You have the documentation that says, yeah, this is the way that we can do things to be better, to make people to be healthier, to assure the quality of water we need, the quantity. This is what we need, and we can do it. And it doesn't matter if the system have a lot of problem. You can solve it step by step. You can follow the methodology, and you can advance. You must do this, and I don't think it's so hard. I think it's easy if you. You must talk with the people. You must know the local culture. You must make team, and then you can travel together to the goal. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So not so hard, I heard. Joseph, do you
No.
want to go next? Just a couple words.
Yeah.
Yes. So I would say it's not so difficult, but it's not that easy either. I mean, there definitely when we really began it, we realized that there were some low-hanging fruits that can easily be overcome. And then, of course, you go and meet those CapEx-related fixes that really you don't really know how you're going to fix it. And so yes, it's not so difficult, but it's not that easy either. But definitely is doable. Yeah.
Okay, so planning for maybe some things that go quicker and some things that take a little bit longer. Thanks. Megan, couple words.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Joseph there. I think it's clear, it's easy to do, and it's a great way to organize the thoughts around, continual improvement and proactive action. But kind of then getting those needs translated into capital infrastructure or operational training, like those are the parts where the rubber hits the road. But at least you know what you need to do. You have a monitoring system in place, and so it's just about making sure you've got the other supports to translate that risk mitigation into operational and capital decision making.
Great, thank you. Travis, anything to add to what Megan said?
No, like I said, I agree with everybody. It's pretty easy. My point would be I'd like to make is make sure you make it your own. Like each system has to be, they're all going to be unique. So I know when I worked on my own, just make it unique, because you go to the next community. Now I'm working in another community. There'd be certain things the same, but there's going to be different obstacles in different regions and different communities.
Thank you. Plug for adaptation there. And SK, last word.
Yes. So Sri Lanka, 2/3 of the country is coming under rural, And these all 4,300 around odd water supply schemes were all the way spread all the way the country. So approaching them was terribly hard for us to begin. So thanks to Department of National Community Water Supply, they made the common platform, the discussion table for us to bring the experts and make them aware at the very beginning and go for piloting. So till we get into that level, it was really hard for us. That's Karen.
Thank you. All right, so I'll turn it back over to Afia. We had one audience activity we wanted to do, and thank you so much to the panelists. You all can step off of the video now if you want. We'll show the poll question again. This one is open-ended, so when it pops up for all of the audience members, you should be able to type in a response. And the question is, after hearing all of these presentations, thinking about your context, in your opinion, in your view, what strategies would help overcome the barriers to implementing water safety plans in small systems? And Afia, I see my video, but I don't see the poll popping up yet.
Yes, just give me a second. I think there is it visible now? Because I'm sharing it.
I haven't seen it.
Mm.
If it's not working, we can go ahead and just post that question in the chat.
Yes, I
if
think
you
because
think we
we have
need to.
exceeded the time, so the poll is not working. Yes, we can add it in the chat.
Okay. All right, so everyone, that question is in the chat. We're all interested, I think, to hear and see your responses. And I know we're a little bit over time. We will stay and answer a few audience questions if people want to hang on. I know there's some that came up in the Q&A. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Fatima to handle that. Oh, and the poll is coming up now.
Yeah.
So you can type your answer in either place, the pop-up box or the chat. But Fatima, feel free to go ahead and get started.
Okay, again, thanks to our great speakers for their excellent presentations and inspiring the discussions session. Now we will begin selecting some questions from the audience. The question one, how government can involve in catchment protection and water safety plan? Can the speaker answer this question, please? Any of the speakers?
Well, if I should take this up, in our case, the government is even encouraging it. I mean, I can imagine. I mean, water safety plans are basically beginning to take roots here in Ghana. I mean, but the government is pushing that every water system should have a water safety plan in place. Yes, it's not been sort of, it's not as safe to say that if you don't have it, you are going to be, there's going to be something against you, it's not, but it's encouraging everybody to move in that direction.
Thank you, Joseph. There are another questions for the speaker of Ghana. What top management committee easy achieved sometimes management is resistant to new ideas and approaches to improve the surface?
If I understand the question, it's asking whether top management were susceptible to accepting these water safety plan ideas.
Yes.
But yes, water safety plans, I mean, we had total commitment from top management. Indeed, I cannot imagine you doing anything like this without top management's encouragement or support. Without top management support, it would be rather difficult to get these things done because by and large, it involves some kind of commitment, some kind of financial commitment, and top management needs to support you to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you. For a short time, we will select another question. There are a question: how extensive is the survey checklist for the assessing risk, and it is standardized for small water systems, or do we need to develop a checklist per system? Any speaker can answer these questions.
Well, the sanitation checklist, I think it's a standard checklist that WHO has. I don't know, maybe. So it's a standard checklist. It's not so long. It's not so difficult. Yeah. So it's not so difficult. It's not like pages. It's probably 3 to 4 pages of it, and that's it. Maybe one of my co-presenters can add to that.
So coming to Sri Lankan context, actually what we have done was we used the WHO checklist, and we made sort of like a tailor-made one for the specific cases, because we can't just generalize with this one. So please do a sort of trial and make a tailor-made one. That is something so important for us, especially for the catchment and domestic level hazard identification. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to plug the WSP portal. We often go there and other people have their examples listed. And so we go in there and make sure that we're thinking holistically. We're looking at other folks' examples. It's a great resource. So just wanted to plug that as an opportunity for people to see these checklists and think through these things.
Karen, can we take another question, or?
Maybe just one more, and then we can do the wrap up.
Okay. How far can water safety plan tools be simple for small or informal system before they lose their effective? Can anyone answer the question?
Can you please repeat the question?
Yeah. How far can water safety plan tools be simple for small or informal system before they lose their effective?
I think you have to try. I think that in our case we took just the some kind of documentation and checklist for big system. We start to make it easier for the small ones, and you start to have like when you put it in practice, you start to see how they function, and I think that you really see if according time passes and you start to check how the system works, and if there are troubles or not, you must think that maybe some risk you are not having a good evaluation of them. But I think that you can do this like simplified documentation checklist and start to work, and then you can change if you start to see that you're not assess the risk in the good way according to the results you start to obtain. I think it's practice. You have to make it in practice in your system.
Thank you, Alejandro.
Yeah, thank you all. I know we're running a little bit over on time here, but it would be great. Maybe we can compile the questions that we had come in through the Q&A in the chat and prepare answers to share with everyone who's attending today. So we can try to do that after the webinar. Would you mind, Afia, just putting up our closing slides? And I also see some great answers coming in to the audience question in the chat. What strategies could help overcome the barriers to water safety plan implementation in small systems? So starting where you're at, starting with the resources you have, and then progressing from there. Building local capacity, peer-to-peer learning is really important, especially when you don't have a strong regulator in place or a strong regulatory impetus to get started. Having that peer support and peer coaching can be really helpful. So yeah, thank you all for sharing those ideas. I just wanted to mention again some of the resources that we talked about today. So there are new guidelines from 2024 for drinking water quality in small supplies that has a whole section on water safety planning. There's also a manual and a field guide that was developed for the European region, but I think has useful tips and information for other places around the world as well. And then I want to turn it over to SK just to mention the upcoming conference.
Thank you,
I think
Karen.
that
So
there's
I would be so much happy to invite everyone. I think we got a slide. Can you move to the next slide, please? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, upcoming conference. Yes. So Sri Lanka is an island country, well famous for tourism, has come in as one of the very popular destination in most of the websites. And this conference is going to be in Colombo. It's about 45 minutes travel from the airport. And we will be having 3 days of work here, 2 days for the conference, that we are having 10 teams, and it's in one of the very recently established facility under the government of Sri Lanka. And the third day, we'll be inviting you all to join us in the field visit in one of the UNESCO heritage city in the central of the country. It's almost like 3 hours of travel in sort of like mountainous areas, and getting with water treatment plants in the large scale to small scale. So it's a good time for you all to come and see Sri Lanka and how we are doing and our success stories in the last 20 years of implementation. Thank you so much.
all right. Afia, did you want to mention anything else to wrap up, or I guess we can go ahead and close out now. There's some upcoming opportunities through IWA. I know there was a question about IWA support, and so these webinars are free, and a lot of the publications are open access. So, anything else there?
Yes, thank you, Karen, and thank you all the speakers and the moderators for their excellent, session today. And as mentioned, I would request all the participants to explore our other webinars, including the upcoming one on 25th February, which is about nature-based solutions in coastal environments. And also, I would like to mention for all those participants who are new to IWA to become part of our professional community. And for all the webinar participants, we are giving 20% discount of the membership. So you can scan the QR code here and join our membership, IWA's membership, and become part of the global community. And with this, I would like to thank you all for attending the webinar, and thank you for all your patience and for all the engagement and interaction. And yeah, that's it. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.